Falling nightmare. One of the most common nightmares is falling. Almost everyone has experienced that gut-wrenching sensation of plummeting from a height, waking up just before hitting the ground. This nightmare is thought to reflect feelings of instability or loss of control in life. In a typical falling dream, you might be stepping off a cliff, tumbling from a building, or free falling from the sky. The fear is intense, often leaving you shaken after waking up. Psychologists believe this dream often occurs during times of stress, when you feel overwhelmed or uncertain about major life changes. There are different variations: falling from the sky, slipping off a ledge, or being unable to stop yourself from the descent. The common thread? It all points to anxiety about control or fear of failure. Physically, the dream can cause you to wake up in a sweat, heart racing, and feeling disoriented. Emotionally, it can leave you feeling vulnerable, especially if the nightmare is recurring. Culturally, falling has long been seen as a symbol of failure or losing one's grip on reality. To cope with falling nightmares, relaxation techniques like meditation can help, along with addressing areas of stress in your life. Identifying and managing those feelings of uncertainty can reduce these unsettling dreams. Being chased nightmare. In a being chased nightmare, you find yourself running from an unknown or terrifying pursuer. No matter how fast you run, you can't seem to escape. This type of nightmare is common and often stems from real-life stress or unresolved issues that you might be avoiding. The pursuer in the dream can symbolize a problem, fear, or challenge that you're not confronting. People experience this dream differently. Sometimes they're chased by a shadowy figure, an animal, or even someone they know. The emotional impact is always the same: anxiety and helplessness. It often represents avoidance in waking life, where you might be running from responsibilities, decisions, or difficult conversations. Physically, these dreams can leave you breathless or with a pounding heart upon waking. Addressing whatever issues you're running from in real life can help reduce these nightmares. Relaxation techniques and problem-solving during the day might help ease the subconscious stress that fuels this recurring dream. Losing teeth nightmare. The losing teeth nightmare is surprisingly common, with dreamers suddenly feeling their teeth crumble, fall out, or vanish. This nightmare is often linked to feelings of powerlessness or insecurity, especially around appearance or aging. It can also signify fears about how others perceive you, making it a symbolic reflection of your self-image. In many variations of this nightmare, the teeth fall out suddenly or gradually, sometimes crumbling into dust. Emotionally, this dream often leaves you feeling vulnerable or embarrassed, and it's typically experienced during times of major life changes or stress. Culturally, losing teeth in dreams can symbolize fear of loss, whether it's losing youth, control, or influence. To manage this nightmare, focusing on self-confidence and reducing anxiety about personal changes can help, as these are common root causes. Drowning nightmare. The drowning nightmare usually involves being submerged underwater, struggling to breathe, and feeling helpless as the water closes in. It's a powerful symbol of feeling overwhelmed, whether by emotions, responsibilities, or a situation that feels out of control. Many people experience this dream when they're dealing with difficult emotions like grief, fear, or frustration. The sensation of being trapped or unable to breathe in the dream mirrors real-life feelings of suffocation or being in over your head. Physically, you may wake up gasping or in a panic, and emotionally, it leaves you with a sense of helplessness. Addressing the stressors or emotional burdens in your waking life can help prevent these nightmares from recurring, along with calming pre-sleep practices like deep breathing. Being trapped nightmare. A being trapped nightmare involves finding yourself confined in a small space, whether it's a locked room, a cave, or even a coffin, and being unable to escape. It's often linked to feeling stuck in life, whether in a relationship, a job, or a stressful situation that you can't seem to get out of. This nightmare usually represents emotional or psychological confinement, where the dreamer feels cornered or unable to make decisions. The trapped feeling can symbolize frustration with a lack of progress or an inability to change something important. Physically, you might wake up feeling claustrophobic or anxious. Emotionally, it often leaves you feeling powerless. To combat this, Reflecting on the areas of your life where you feel stuck and taking action to regain control can help reduce the frequency of these nightmares. Public humiliation nightmare. In a public humiliation nightmare, you find yourself in an embarrassing situation. Maybe you forgot your lines in a speech, failed an important task, or realized you're naked in a public place. This nightmare reflects deep-seated fears of judgment, rejection, or failure. This nightmare is often tied to anxiety about social situations or performance pressure. The fear of being judged or exposed in front of others in a dream reflects real-world worries about self-image or living up to expectations. Upon waking, the humiliation feels real and can leave you anxious or self-conscious. Reducing stress in social or performance-based situations, along with building self-confidence, can help prevent this nightmare from returning. Death or dying nightmare. In a death or dying nightmare, either you or a loved one faces imminent death. This type of nightmare can be especially disturbing, but it usually reflects anxiety or fear of change, rather than literal death. It can symbolize the death of something significant, like a relationship, phase of life, or a job. Many people experience this nightmare during major life transitions, such as moving, changing careers, or dealing with loss. The dream can be a metaphor for the fear of the unknown or fear of what lies ahead. Emotionally, these dreams can leave you feeling anxious, sad, or even shaken for days. While they may feel intense, they often indicate your subconscious is processing change. Acknowledging and coping with these changes in waking life can help reduce the frequency of death-related nightmares. Failing an exam/task nightmare. A failing an exam or task nightmare is one of the most common nightmares related to performance anxiety. In this dream, you might find yourself sitting for an important test, only to realize you're unprepared, late, or unable to complete it. Even if you're long out of school, these dreams often resurface during times of stress. This nightmare typically stems from fear of failure, self-doubt, or pressure to succeed, especially in situations where your performance is being judged, whether it's at work, school, or in personal relationships. These dreams can also reflect a feeling of being overwhelmed by expectations. Physically, the dream leaves you tense or anxious upon waking, and emotionally, you might feel unprepared or inadequate. Addressing your fears of failure and reminding yourself of your capabilities can help reduce the occurrence of these nightmares. Being naked in public nightmare. A being naked in public nightmare is another classic anxiety dream. In this scenario, you suddenly find yourself in a public place, school, work, or a crowded street, completely naked, with no explanation. The embarrassment and vulnerability you feel in the dream are intense. This nightmare reflects fears of exposure or judgment. It might arise when you're worried about being vulnerable in real life, feeling unprepared, or fearing criticism. It symbolizes a sense of inadequacy, self-consciousness, or insecurity about how others perceive you. Upon waking, the emotions of shame and embarrassment may linger. The dream is often a reminder to work on self-confidence and to stop worrying about how others see you. Intruders or home invasion nightmare. In a home invasion nightmare, your home, a place of safety and comfort, is violated by an intruder. The dream often involves feelings of helplessness and fear as you try to protect yourself or your family. This nightmare is especially common for people dealing with stress, anxiety, or personal boundaries being crossed. Psychologically, this nightmare reflects feelings of vulnerability or a perceived threat in your waking life. It can symbolize a fear of losing control over your personal space, security, or well-being. Physically, the fear in these dreams can leave you with a racing heart upon waking. Addressing concerns about safety or boundary setting in your waking life can help reduce these nightmares. Losing a loved one nightmare. In a losing a loved one nightmare, you experience the pain and grief of losing someone close to you, whether through death, disappearance, or abandonment. These nightmares can be emotionally devastating and often occur when you're feeling insecure about relationships or dealing with unresolved grief. This type of dream symbolizes fear of loss, whether it's fear of losing someone important or fear of losing a connection. It might also reflect anxiety about changes in your relationships or personal life. Waking from this dream can leave you feeling distressed or sad. Understanding that these nightmares are often linked to emotional fears rather than reality can help manage the impact. Being paralyzed nightmare. A being paralyzed nightmare involves feeling completely immobilized, either by an unseen force or your own body, while you're fully aware of your surroundings. You may feel trapped, vulnerable, and helpless, unable to escape or react. This nightmare is often associated with stress and anxiety, especially during times when you feel powerless or unable to act in your waking life. Some people experience this as part of sleep paralysis, where your body is unable to move while you are between sleep and wakefulness. Waking from this dream can be terrifying, especially if accompanied by real physical immobility. Addressing feelings of helplessness or regaining a sense of control in your life can help reduce these occurrences. Losing control of a vehicle nightmare. In this nightmare, you find yourself behind the wheel of a car, bus, or another vehicle, and everything is normal until it's not. Suddenly, the brakes fail, the steering wheel won't respond, or you're speeding down a road with no control. Panic sets in as you realize you can't stop or change direction. This nightmare symbolizes feelings of helplessness or fear of losing control in your real life. Psychologically, this dream is linked to anxiety about your personal journey. The vehicle often represents the path you're on, whether in your career, relationships, or personal growth. Losing control over it reflects feelings of uncertainty or powerlessness in your waking life, especially when it feels like things are spiraling out of your hands. When you wake up, the fear lingers, leaving you anxious or unsettled. This nightmare is a wake-up call to regain control in areas of your life that feel chaotic. Finding ways to address those situations, whether through organization, decision-making, or reducing stress, can help prevent this dream from recurring. Injury or sickness nightmare. In an injury or sickness nightmare, you or someone you love is severely injured or struck by a sudden illness. These nightmares can be particularly distressing, as they tap into deep fears about vulnerability, mortality, and losing control over your health. This type of dream often occurs during periods of stress, particularly if you're worried about your own health or the health of someone close to you. It can also reflect anxiety about aging or fear of losing physical or emotional strength. Waking from this dream can leave you with lingering fear or anxiety. Addressing health concerns in your waking life and taking steps to manage your physical and emotional well-being can help reduce these types of nightmares.